We have a lot to talk about on this edition of Dolphins Today by Chat Sports because Jalen Ramsey has been linked to the Los Angeles Rams yet again in trade rumors. We'll talk about that fit and if that is where this is ultimately heading. Plus, at the end of today's show, 7th-round quarterback Quinn Ewers got some love from ESPN. They talked about his fit in Miami. We'll discuss that and what his role could be in his rookie season. We're starting with Jalen Ramsey, because ESPN, Matt Bowen, labeled the Rams as the best trade fit if Ramsey is dealt, which it does seem like that is heading into that direction. Let's see what Bowen had to say, and then I'll give my thoughts. He said that Miami general manager Chris Grier said the team is looking at offers for Ramsey, who is no longer a blue-chip defender at age 30. Rams could use his skill set as his jolt of speed and ball production would upgrade their secondary. They'd also have to give up a lot less this time around to acquire him. Ramsey can still pattern match vertically downfield, and he still has high-end backfield vision and zone coverage. He would also give Los Angeles more flexibility in sub-packages because he can create disruptive plays as a nickel corner. He had 2 interceptions, 8 pass breaks, and 6 tackles for loss in Miami last season. And I completely agree. I think the Rams and Ramsey make a lot of sense for a potential reunion there. And by the way, make sure you are following me over on Twitter. One, because we've talked about Rams rumors on my Twitter, and if a Ramsey trade happens, which it will be broken, and the news will be first discussed over on Twitter at Nic_Rohloff. First 5 people to follow me from today's show, I'm giving you a follow back. Go give me a follow. But anyway, back to Ramsey and the Rams. I tell you what, that's a tongue twister, by the way. Trying to say Ramsey Rams back-to-back has given me mental gymnastics. But either way, there's been buzz in the past about Jalen Ramsey and the Rams reuniting, and then you also see ESPN talk about it. It also feels like they've been the most aggressive in trade talks with Chris Grier in Miami about a potential deal. You just flash it back about exactly 1 month in the mid-April portion. Sean McVay spoke about a Ramsey trade. He said he and I have kept in great touch ever since we ended up trading him to Miami. Talked about adding the competitiveness, the great player, the leader that Jalen Ramsey is. Well, around that same time frame where McVay said that, Ian Rapoport also went on the Pat McAfee show and says that he believes Ramsey will still be traded. The Rams are an interesting possibility. Him and McVay are still good friends. Like, it's just, when you go back over the last month and see what has been said by NFL reporters, NFL publications, it just feels like we are ultimately heading towards a Jalen Ramsey trade to the Rams. Now, as I always say, it will be at least processed or finalized after June 1st, because if Miami trades him prior to that, well, it's going to be a $12 million upcharge in dead cap, and that makes no sense. Miami could save $9 million in cap space this season if they trade him and process it after June 1st. So a deal is not going to be finalized until after June 1st. Want that abundantly clear if you're watching just for the first time. But I do think the Rams are the most interested team and make the most sense for both Jalen, because he knows that coaching staff, he knows that roster, he knows the city, and it makes sense for Miami to just give him what he might want. So make the prediction for me. Do you think it will actually be the Rams? Will Jalen Ramsey be in Los Angeles yet again in 2025? Type Y for yes or type N for no. If you haven't been able to tell by the way I've spoken about it in this show, I am going to predict the Los Angeles Rams. There's a lot of teams that have shown interest, at least publicly, on Ramsey. Obviously, the Los Angeles Rams, but you've seen the Detroit Lions, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Buffalo Bills, the Las Vegas Raiders. Well, you can argue that the Rams should be the most motivated team because of how bad their secondary is. The Las Vegas Raiders is probably the other cornerback group outside of the Rams that is equally as bad. But, like, these 5 players, like, maybe I'm not watching a lot of Rams football, but I'm pretty sure this is a really bad corner room and one of the bottom 5 in the entire National Football League. Like, Emmanuel Forbes Jr. is a first-round bust. He joins them after being cut by the Commanders over the last year. Like, Kobe Durant, Quinn, like these guys aren't dudes. And if the Rams seriously have aspirations for winning a title in the last couple of years here with Matthew Stafford, which all eyes indicate they are with how they addressed their offense and repaid Matthew Stafford this offseason, they need at least one lead dude in that secondary, and I don't think they have it just yet. Jalen Ramsey could be that guy for them. So, what would a trade look like? Well, I flip-flopped my trade compensation for Miami quite a bit And I think I'm now landing on a conditional 4th-round pick. At the beginning of the rumors, I said if the Dolphins were going to trade him before the draft, it would have to be a 2nd or 3rd-round pick. Why? Because of that cap situation we briefly discussed about it being dead, a lot of dead cap for the Dolphins if they traded him prior to June 1st. But now that we were after June 1st, I was like, well, it's probably not going to be that much. This is probably like a 5th-rounder. But I now have changed it to a conditional 4th-round pick. Why is that? Well, it's because I think there is actually a lot more intrigue in Jalen Ramsey around the league than people realize. We did a show about it at the end of last week, right after the schedule release, because Adam Schefter went on ESPN during the schedule release, was asked about Jalen Ramsey. He said there's more interest in Jalen Ramsey than people realize. If that's the case, well, then it seems very likely that there could be not a crazy bidding war, but at least some type of rise in discussions and trade compensation because there's so many teams that could be involved. Like we mentioned the Eagles as a team, the Lions as a team, the Rams as a team that could all be interested in trading for Ramsey. Well, if those front offices, those GMs catch wind of those other teams being interested, those are 3 teams that are competing for a Super Bowl appearance from the NFC conference. Well, that means that offer that they are giving might jump up. So a conditional 4th-round pick that could turn into a 3rd-round pick, depending on Ramsey incentives, team goals. So let's just say this. Pro Bowl / All-Pro and like a 2nd-round playoff berth. And the Dolphins get a 3rd-round pick instead of a 4th. I'm doing that. If I'm Miami and if I'm Los Angeles, I would give that legit consideration as well. That's what I think a trade could look like at this point. Make sure you are subscribed for daily Dolphins content for free, by the way, 100% free. We don't charge you like ESPN Plus or some other places. Subscribe now, turn on notifications as we post daily content, sometimes 2 videos a day. Never miss a piece. And when breaking news happens, we'll have you covered as well. All right, let's transition from Jalen Ramsey to Quinn Ewers, 7th-round pick this past year by the Miami Dolphins, 231 overall. I liked the pick at the time, and I'm starting to like it even more. Well, Jordan Reid of ESPN spoke about his role and his fit with the Dolphins. He said the Dolphins live off quick throws and letting their skill players gain yards after the catch. Mike McDaniel's offense is a perfect fit for Ewers, who projects best in a scheme that incorporates a lot of run-pass options and operates primarily over the middle of the field. Ewers has limitations throwing the ball downfield, but that's less of an issue in Miami's scheme. Tua Tagovailoa's durability concerns and Zach Wilson's inconsistency could work in Ewers' favors down the road. I've been very complimentary of the pick. I labeled Ewers as a day 3 QB target for the Fins all draft process for a lot of different reasons. One, I think he has a lot of talent. You can question his decision-making, his footwork, because it leads to a lot of inaccurate throws and what ultimately was a lot of turnovers his final year at Texas. But you cannot deny the arm talent. And yeah, he's had injury history, but he had top 3 arm talent, in my opinion, in this draft class. It was right up there with Cam Ward. It was right up there with some of the other top prospects. And at Texas, under Steve Sarkisian, who comes from an NFL mindset, ran an NFL type of offense. A lot of motion, a lot of RPOs, a lot of quick throws over the middle. Ewers actually lived a lot off yards after the catch, bubble screens, and those type of plays, which is something Miami does often. So it's about time that the Dolphins signed a quarterback in Zach Wilson, who we'll discuss here in just a second, but drafted one as well that skill sets could match what Miami likes to run offensively. And if Tua were to go down again, you have a pair of quarterbacks that know how to run that system rather than a Skylar Thompson, rather than a Tyler Huntley, a Tim Boyle. Miami's finally addressing backup quarterback in a very good way. Before we finish the conversation with Quinn Ewers, grab your hoodies today. I can't get enough of this design. The Go Fins, the palm trees, the Dolphins logo. On sale, clearance, half off right now, $40 when you go to chatsports.com/Dolphins hoodie. They got small through, extra large, 2X and 3X. I think they're starting to run out. Grab yours today. Links in the description and comments of today's video. One more time, chatsports.com/Dolphins hoodie. Ewers will have a chance to have a significant role right away. I really do believe that. He will be QB3 to Tua and Zach Wilson. But he will have a legit shot to be the QB2 for Tua and the Fins in 2026. And who knows? He could end up becoming QB2 this year if an injury occurs to one of Zach Wilson or Tua. Now, what will Tua and Zach Wilson force Quinn Ewers' start to be? I don't know. Will Ewers be on the practice squad to start his career? Will he be kept on the 53-man roster? I think that's a 50-50 shot right now. It's more or less how Miami feels about the rest of the league, because if they put him on the practice squad, then he could be signed by a different team. I don't know. They gave him a pretty standard large contract for a 7th-round pick, so it kind of projects maybe towards the 53-man roster. But the cause for concern I have with projecting a large role for Ewers as a rookie is, one, he needs a lot of development and cleaning up of his footwork, but it's also what you did in free agency by signing Zach Wilson. And I was very fond of this move because you finally address quarterback in terms of backing up Tua in a large way. You have someone who's also uberly talented, has been a starter in the past, and I think could thrive in this Dolphins system. But you gave him a 1-year, $6 million contract, all guaranteed, $1.25 million in base, $4.75 million signing bonus. Now, there are some void years attached to this, and he has a cap hit of $2.2 million for the 2025 season, which is relatively solid. But the point is this. You see this contract? That is not a contract that you give a quarterback for him to be replaced or moved back in the depth chart by a 7th-round rookie. I like Quinn Ewers, and I don't think my actual stance on this matter would change if they took Quinn Ewers in the 5th round like I thought they were actually going to do. Yeah, they got him 2 rounds later in the 7th round, and it's excellent value. But to me, you're not going to move off of Zach Wilson. You're not going to move him down the depth chart for Quinn Ewers. Like, I love Quinn. I think he has a lot of upside. I can't wait to watch him in the preseason. And just getting to watch the 3 quarterbacks of Ewers, Zach Wilson, and Tua in the 3 preseason games, it's absolutely going to be a treat, and I can't wait to see that, as well as other position battles on the roster. But you just don't go out and sign Zach Wilson to that contract we showed and then replace him with Quinn Ewers, regardless of how I feel about Quinn and what I think he can do if everything goes his way and it works out to the highest degree. All right, call your shot. This is a fascinating open-ended question, which I'm intrigued to see the thoughts of from the Dolphins fans. In his career, what will Quinn Ewers' top role for the Dolphins be? Is he eventually a starting quarterback? Is he just a QB3? Is he QB2? What will his top role be in his career for the Dolphins? Let me know your thoughts. And as we sign off, make sure you do follow me over on Twitter at Nic_Rohloff. Remember, first 5 people to follow me today from this show get a follow back. And if any Dolphins news or rumors occur and go online, we'll have you covered over there first before making a video about it. So if you truly want to be covered 365, 24/7, go give me a follow and make sure you're subscribed.